Welcome to episode 1 of the Fit Parents podcast. I'm Adam Northover.
And I'm Naomi Northover, and we're both full-time online fitness coaches and proud mummy and daddy to our 4-year-old daughter, Olivia.
This podcast is for parents who want to set the standard for their family. They want to look and feel amazing in their own skin whilst inspiring the next generation.
And in this first episode, we're going to discuss our own journeys, how we trained and dealt with nutrition before and after children, and how we are role models to our daughter, Olivia.
And there's plenty of other topics that we're going to cover as well. How you may wish to approach training both before and after children, what training splits are going to be right for you, how you can approach nutrition around eating with the family. And then from there as well, we're also going to help you when it comes to optimizing energy levels, because we know as busy parents that can take a real hit. And there's certain supplements that you can be taking that don't cost the earth that are really going to help give you that boost that you need. So, shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start with you then. Let's hear about your journey, Naomi, and your fitness journey, what inspired you, where you've come from, everything.
So I was a police officer for 11 years, as you know, that's how we met. And then upon being pregnant, I knew I did not want to do that job anymore. We had the discussions, the being off late, the rejected annual leave. I wanted to be present for our family, and you had already left the police by that point. So yeah, I've always been into fitness from a young age, like did GCSE PE, been in the gym from a young age, and my friendship group was a split of females and males, and I would always go train with my male friends. So yeah, just always been into it. And then obviously when we met, we would always go to the gym and train together. And then during pregnancy, I wasn't able to really train during my pregnancy, and on the internet there was just so much stuff out there, and I didn't know what was safe to do, what wasn't safe to do. And then I had quite low energy and iron levels, so was advised not to train anyway, so didn't. And then obviously had quite a traumatic birth, which will be a story for another day. And then quite a long recovery after birth, where again I was unable to, I was poorly for 7 months, and then we gave it until January 2022 when I started training again. So it was almost 2 years out of the gym. But through my own experience during pregnancy and again after birth, knowing what's safe, what's not safe, there was so much conflicting information. I knew that's where my passion lied. I didn't want other women to feel in that position who were into fitness and feel like they have to stop. So yeah, we had discussions of what I could do. You obviously suggested online coach because you were very successful as your own right at that point. And I was like, why not? So did the relevant qualifications, and here we are.
So what was the year when you started coaching?
2023.
I already know that answer. I want people watching this to know. So you've been a coach since 2023, and then you went full-time by the April of the following year, 2024?
Yeah, 6 months.
Nice one. And then you've got a number of ladies on your books that you work with. And not all of them are, in that bracket of pre or postnatal. It's just you will coach women and help them feel how you wanted to feel, having that confidence and that belief in themselves. And one of the things that you've done to assist with that, because, it's really important that you lead from the front, is your photo shoots. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and the viewers a little bit more?
Yeah, so upon deciding that I was going to go down the online coaching route, photo shoot is completely out of my comfort zone. Like, I've never been someone who loves themselves or wants to be centre stage. But you said you need to show that you can lead from the front, essentially. So we booked our first ever fitness photo shoot, and I was absolutely shitting it. I was so out of my comfort zone. But the first one we did with Carl Morris, who is an insane photographer. I was so uncomfortable initially. You could see it in my body language. But when he showed me that picture, that is a feeling I'll never forget, because I could not believe that was me on his screen. And then from that point, it weren't huge, but the confidence grew and the photos improved. But if I could bottle that feeling up that I had seeing that image and like, oh my God, I can't believe that's me. That is what I aspire to. I want to give that feeling to as many women as I possibly can, because it was such a nice confidence boost. So obviously we did that. And then we did another photo shoot recently, which was May this year.
May time. Yeah, it was.
With Carl Morris again. This one wasn't as smooth sailing because I've got some health issues going on currently, which are under investigation, and I was suffering quite badly with digestive issues. But I worked with a coach, Georgie, who was awesome. God knows how, the day before shoot, my belly just decided to explode out. Put a plan together. Georgie put a plan in place. No food for, it was almost 24 hours. And somehow my midsection dialed in for the shoot. But yeah, that prep was definitely much harder this time round.
But I think it's credit to you as well. And it shows to your clients as well that sometimes you just need to do whatever it takes to get that final look. And, you know, we both work with a lot of clients who photo shoots never start as their main goal. It's fair to say probably no one has come to us with, I want to do a photo shoot straight off the bat. It's like, well, I want to, for guys, build muscle, lose fat. For women, it's like, I want to get my pre-baby body back, or I just want to roll back the years. I want to feel good. And then the more belief they have in themselves, because you give them that through their check-ins, you know, the seed starts getting planted, and then they start seeing the potential in themselves. I'm like, okay, I think I can get a body that I never thought possible. And then obviously they go through the stages like you did, whereby, okay, I'm going to get in front of a camera, I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone, and actually it feels bloody good. And they look back at these photos and they're like, that's not me. And like Carl says to us, it really is. I haven't done any edits. This is me just capturing you and how you are at this moment in time. And I think that's what a lot of people don't believe with these photo shoots sometimes. They think, oh, they must be all touched up and stuff. The reality is he's just capturing you in your best light.
Yeah, which is really nice. And like you say, it's a case that you do what is necessary, and photo shoots are more difficult. You do have to put the work in, and you have got to tick all the boxes, else you're not going to get the results you're happy with. But I think that's enough about me. Let's go on to you. Okay,
so my journey started sometime before you, it's fair to say. I mean, you've obviously been into fitness most of your life, as have I. I've always been into sports, that element of competition. Like as a kid, although not sport, I played chess to a high level, you know, had England trials. Then I went on to Taekwondo, and I was British and English champion so many times, was an assistant instructor at my club by the age of 14. So it's almost been in my blood to get the best out of people and help people. And then on top of that, I placed third in the world at the World Championships, but I went to university and I stopped training because youthful arrogance. I didn't want to be trained by an instructor who was a lesser grade than me. So I stopped that, and then I got fat because all I did was eat and drink the same, probably a little bit more, no activity, bang, and I felt rubbish. And then fast forward a little bit, it was like, okay, what do I do after university? I didn't have a clue. Someone I knew wanted to join the police or had joined the police. I was like, that sounds pretty good. So I joined the police, you know, put in my application. But then I was like, okay, I'm pretty skinny right now. And if I'm going to go out there on the streets, I need to have a bit of presence about myself. And that was when my journey really started. And by the time I joined the police, you know, I had arms that filled out a t-shirt as opposed to them looking like pipe cleaners. So at least I felt like I had a bit of presence. Then over the years, I, you know, built my physique up, stripped it down, built it up, stripped it down, made so many mistakes. But eventually I got to a decent level. Just as I was about to leave the police because I'd had enough, I got some a PT qualification. I started doing a little bit of online coaching. That was in 2018. And I also did my first bodybuilding prep, you know, and I placed second at that novice class. And that was a brutal, savage prep. And I said, never again. And I probably said that a few times since, and it still continues. But we'll cross that bridge another day. But then that was really when I felt the love for it. But I left the police and moved into another career. And I was like, well, I can't do both. So I had to knock the coaching on the head. But there's still that little fire in the back of my head that, you know, wanted to keep it going. COVID hit, and I think like 2021, I started putting stuff out on the internet. And I'd get people messaging me, are you coaching again? Can I join you? And I was like, no, it's not what I'm doing. I'm just helping. And that feels good. You know, you join the police to help people deep down. And the coaching is helping people. It's changing their lives. So that came. And I got the inquiries through, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start up again. And then I just scaled it from there. You know, I've been fortunate. I've been able to grow the business. I've worked with, you know, really good business mentor, John Scriven, who helped me build up along the way. And it got to a point where I think I had 30 to 35 clients, and I couldn't keep doing that and being a dad to Olivia and having a full-time job. My dad had a health scare, which needed me to be about more because mum can't drive. And that was the nudge that I needed. I was like, right, instead of asking for time off work to help out with dad, I'm just going to jack it all in. And obviously it was your suggestion, really. You were like, this is the right time. And I don't think if it wasn't for you that I would have taken that leap there and then, but your support then meant that I did that. And then ever since then, it's just grew and grew and grew. You know, I'm at a stage now where talking right now, I'm up to 55 clients, which is wild. You know, if you'd have told me years ago that I'd have 30 clients, I'd have bitten your hand off. But I've got so many guys working under me now, and it's something I'm hugely proud of, but something I'll never take for granted because there's so many coaches out there. If anyone wants to work with me, I'm like, wow, that's an honor. You know, they've chosen me out of everyone to get them in great shape. And for me, that's where my passion lies. Like, I need to give back their faith in me to make sure that they get the results that they desire.
And I think you absolutely do that. And that goes to show with the results that you get with your client.
I like to think so. And, you know, the good thing is I'm not like an 8-week coach or a 12-week coach who just goes, here's your plan, run with it and see you later. Or people leave me after 12 weeks and like, that service is terrible, because we all know that sort of service. I have guys who are like 3 and a bit years down the line with me now, you know, like literally my original clients, and they're still with me to this day. Generally, when people start working with me, they love the way I make them feel, the way I motivate them, the changes to plan. There's always something to work on. You're never the finished article. I'm proof of that. I'm almost 20 years deep in my training career, and yet I still feel I'm getting better, even at 41. And that's another thing, like the demographic of people that I work with has shifted a little bit. I still love working with guys in their 20s. Their bodies are so responsive, but equally it's very satisfying to get someone who is 40 years old, you know, or older, thinking, you know, I've had my time. I'd just like to lose a little bit of fat, build a little bit of muscle. And I'm like, you can do so much better than that. I'll get you to a photo shoot, you know, and they don't believe me at first, and maybe the photo shoot never happens for them, but they can achieve that level of physique. And, you know, this year I've taken more guys to photo shoot than ever before. And the feelings of every single guy, it puts them on cloud 9, as you've highlighted. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next topic that we're going to speak about really is how our own journeys have changed since Olivia came on board. Because it's fair to say that before Olivia, we could train when we wanted around a day job. You know, we could eat together all the time. Just, it was so much easier to plan. But then when you throw a child into the mix, things have to change. So, I mean, the big thing that I did was I changed when I would train. So I wouldn't train after work because I wanted to be there and be present with Olivia and yourself. Like, you weren't well for quite some time. I needed to be there to help out. I'm not one of those dads who's just like, you've had the baby, you deal with it, you know, can't be like that. So I would get up before anyone else in the house was up. We were lucky with Olivia, she slept through the night. So it meant I could get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go train and be back to help out in the mornings. So that was the big shift that I did. What about yourself before and after, really?
So like you said, before was really easy. I mean, we worked shifts in the police, so a bit more difficult than your general 9-to-5 job, but it was still easy. We've got no other commitments. So it was just easy to sort. Whereas obviously, like you said, you would get up super early. Myself, I couldn't train, which was hard. I tried a few times with the Les Mills on while Liv was having a nap, but it just fucked me over. I wasn't well enough to train. So all I did was my steps. That was a really big focus. I would go out every day and my aim was 10,000 steps a day. And I couldn't do that from the start. So I started off small and then just gradually built up to 10,000 steps a day. And yeah, it made an impact, I think mentally more than anything, because actually losing my baby weight was much harder than I thought it would be. And I even had several comments like, oh, I thought you had snapped back into shape. Because I've always been obviously tall, slim, size 8. But yeah, I didn't snap back. It's
hard work.
It was hard work. And the illness on top of that and not being able to train for so long obviously was a massive impact and something out of my control. So just doing those steps daily, like I say, just mentally helped and just felt like I was doing a little something.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. And it's one of the things that people really don't take into account is steps and the power of getting the steps in. I mean, I think it's for every 10,000 steps you do, you're burning about 500 calories, you know, and that in itself, if you've got a calorie deficit that you're adhering to and you're then putting that 500 calories on top, that's a lot of a huge deficit. And that's a lot of body fat lost accumulating over the week. You know, it's something that is so underappreciated, but is something that makes the process so much easier. You know, if you've got a job or not even a job, just a lifestyle where you're only doing 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day. It makes fat loss so much harder. And then, like you say, there's the mental benefits that come from going out for a walk.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when your little one is so little, like you can't really communicate with them. They're happy to just go sleep in the pram. It's just time for you and to get out the house. Because I think postnatal, you are in the house a lot, and sometimes it just feels a bit suffocating.
It's like a
and
prison.
like, yeah, literally. And we were in COVID at the time as well, which didn't help. So we were in full on lockdown. So to just get out once a day was just really, really nice.
I think one of the things we hear a lot is the excuse of time. And you know what? You'll get coaches who will say you have the same 24 hours as everyone else, and you'll get others that are like, oh no, not everyone's different. Everyone has different commitments. Yes, of course, time is time. We can't speed it up. We can't slow it down. There's a finite amount of time in your day. But a lot of the time it's just an excuse. And, you know, we always say, look at your screen time. How much time do you spend in front of the TV? And it was like when Olivia came on, I had 2 full-time jobs because I had obviously 30 clients that I was coaching, plus a day job, plus I was doing a bodybuilding prep as well, and having to learn to be a new dad and be a family man. It was a lot going on. But because the bodybuilding prep as well made it even more of a priority, I got it done no matter what. That's the thing. If it means so much to you, if you're saying, I want to achieve X, then what you need to do is align your actions with your goals. It's no good saying, I want to achieve X. Oh, but I didn't feel like it today. I was a little bit tired. All these little things. For me, excuses are just that. There's something you tell yourself to justify your inaction. And from your experience as well, is that something that you hear a lot, particularly with women coming on board too, who are like, well, I'm a really busy mum and, you know, I just don't have the time.
Absolutely. And just going on what you said, when we were doing photo shoot prep, I was still in the police working shifts. And when I was in the office, I was away from home for 12 hours. Would then still have to be mummy, drop Liv off at nursery before going to work, 12 hours out the house, come back, prep my food. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong as well. They say they don't have the time. And okay, exercise, obviously we need to weight train to get the results we want. But nutrition is the key thing. And that is the one thing that you can control. That is complete. It doesn't matter about time. You can control what goes in your mouth.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how people are too busy not to be able to do that.
No, I agree. And I think we're going to delve into nutrition even more a little bit later in this podcast because it's such a key area. And it's something so easy because every choice you make dictates how your body's going to react. Overeat, you're going to get fat. You know, it literally is as simple as that. So I guess what we could move on to now really is, okay, let's go on to parenting a little bit and how our job as a parent is to be a role model for our child. It's to inspire the next generation. It's the way I always like to see it. And you only need to look around at society to see it's broken. We all know that. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. But there are outliers out there who do try and be the best parent they can. And I believe that stems in the household. So Olivia has grown up around us being into fitness, but we don't impose it on her. She's allowed treats. She has treats every day, every damn day. But she also has an understanding of what's healthy. You know, she will talk about, is this a carb? Is this a protein? You know, pointing at things on her plate, like chicken nuggets, potato waffles, you know, these sorts of things. She's not having, you know, bland, boring meals like a bodybuilder. We wouldn't grow up like that, but she understands micronutrients even, you know, the peas, why they're healthy. And then as well as that, she understands about, you know, muscle and going to the gym. How do you see our role in bringing up Olivia?
Like you say, she's brought up around it from a young age. We've got like images and videos of her with like, even from a baby, she had like a little mini dumbbell, little kettlebell, the little sweat headband. And like our home gym, through COVID, we had a home gym and she's always been shown that. And whenever we open the garage, I mean, we haven't got much stuff now because we've sold it, but she will still, can I go and exercise? And she just likes being active, like the sport she does. She likes being outside. She's definitely an outside girl. And then in terms of food, you said she doesn't eat the bland, boring bodybuilding stuff, but her favourite meal is steak, rice and peas.
Yeah, that's it. Whenever we have rice on our plate, can I have some rice? You know?
And that is the meal that she would ask for. She's not going to ask, I mean, don't get me wrong, pizza is her next favourite.
Yeah.
But if you ask Olivia, what do you want for tea? She's going to say steak, rice and peas.
Or fish fingers.
Or fish fingers, yeah. But they are her go-to. And yeah, like you said, she knows what stuff is. And gym, she knows we go to the gym. She knows it's what we do. And she knows that we help people to become fit and healthy. And she even came to a visit with us to our gym, Rhinos.
Yep.
So thanks to Nick and his family, who are so lovely. But they let Olivia come in the gym and have a little look around because she was so excited to see it.
Yeah. And as well, like there's little things. So we were at a Northampton Town event about 2-3 weeks ago. And, we went into the corporate hospitality area and we took Olivia. And at the end of it, the match, they had a raffle. And Olivia won a big jar of sweets. She got to pick anything, but of course she wanted the sweets. It's cool. She's a kid, of course. But then what she did next just totally took us by surprise. That's her winnings. It's like her trophy. She then put it on the floor and hit a front double bicep shot and said, I'm like daddy, because obviously she's seen me do a bodybuilding show and with a trophy and that sort of thing. And she likes to mimic it. So again, that just shows that she is embracing competition. She's embracing the lifestyle. And it's so damn good to see. She's a very switched on, intelligent little girl, but the bedrock of everything, she's got a good routine. She's got good sleep. She eats well. She has a good balance of kid stuff and healthy stuff. And she understands that hard work is necessary to get to places, because we always tell her when upon bedtime, Mummy and Daddy going back to work now. So if she's messing about in bed, it's like, no, come on, you need to settle down because Mummy and Daddy are going to work. Oh, are you working now? Why are you working? We're working hard so that we can have nice things for you. And that's another thing that we've instilled in her, that hard work leads to good things. And she understands that at 4 years old. And I think that's really powerful. And I think it's going to set her in good stead moving forwards as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Oh, my voice is going. But just going back to routine, we've always said, like, from a baby, we were nailing it. Like, she's come along. It's not about us now. It's about her. And don't get me wrong, there's been an occasion here or there where the routines had to go out the window. But I'd say 98% of the time, we stuck to our routine. And she slept through the night since she was 6 weeks old. And she's still such a good sleeper now. And you hear parents like, oh, had such broken sleep. And don't get me wrong, you could do the perfect routine and you might just be unlucky and have a child who does not sleep. But we swear by the fact having a set routine has genuinely helped so much.
And I think as well, what we can diversify this chat into a little bit as well is things like nutrition around kids and the excuses that we hear. Because my child wanted a McDonald's, so I had to have a McDonald's. My child wanted to go to Krispy Kreme, I had to have a Krispy Kreme. We take her to these places. I wouldn't say all the time, but we take her to these places. We give her a treat. But our approach to the normal person, the everyday person, is very different, isn't it?
Yeah. So like we used to go Krispy Kreme quite a bit. We haven't been for a while actually. But Liv would be there having her fruit shoot and her Krispy Kreme, and we'd just have a latte.
Yeah, or a Diet Coke.
Or a Diet Coke, yeah. Depending. But yeah, just because you're taking your child out for a treat, you're not a child yourself. You don't have to have that treat. Just because it's there, you don't have to have it. You can have that discipline. If you're working towards a goal, the donuts are always going to bloody be there. You don't need one just because you're there.
No, so that's a really good point. It's just the ability to say no. And I think it's ingrained in society at the moment as well. You should never be hungry. It's not normal to be hungry. It bloody well is. What about your ancestors? They went hours, days without food. And obviously if we're going to the prehistoric times and, hunter-gatherer and all that sort of stuff, it's ingrained in us. We don't need to be satiated and full all the damn time, leading to bloatedness, sluggishness. You look around at people and they feel themselves with rubbish and they feel like trash so much of the time. And it's not until they come and work with someone like us that we strip back the diet, actually give them more food in terms of food volume, because you get so much more bang for your buck with cleaner options, with obviously some treat options thrown in as well. And they're like, I cannot believe how much food I get to eat, and now I feel amazing. And it's only because they've been having a diet laden with heavily processed shit for so long, under consuming basic things like water. And they don't realize the impact it's having on them and their ability to function both professionally and at home as a parent.
Yeah. And I think just going into that, when we do like weekly check-ins with clients, we give, depending on their goals, as long as they're not doing a photo shoot or for yourself bodybuilding, they have the option to have an off-plan meal a week so that they can have some enjoyment and have a meal guilt-free that they enjoy. But I personally find in my check-ins, when a client has worked with me for a little bit of time, they say, oh, I had this takeaway, but you know what? It wasn't worth it. I felt disgusting. I felt sluggish. And I can really see the difference of putting that food back in my body. And I've had that quite a lot, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I think I experienced that a lot as well. One of the guys who chatted with me this morning, Alex, he rarely has his off-plan meal. All my clients, unless they're on a strict photo shoot prep or a bodybuilding prep, they'll always have the option to have an off-plan meal a week. Sometimes in cases such as Brad, I'm like, okay, well, you need 2 off-plan meals a week. You know, it's all very individual. But you do find that people become less and less, I don't know, needy in terms of wanting these heavily processed options. And when they have something, they're like, actually, that made me feel disgusting. And, you know, the amount of times I've seen someone say, I started this, I left it because I didn't like it. And it's because you get so in tune with your body throughout this process that then you feel, actually, no, that isn't serving me any purpose whatsoever. And it's only because you're addicted to these chemicals and toxins and additives and preservatives that are in these foods that you crave them. But once you break that cycle, you then will try it again. You're like, actually, that's nowhere near as good as I thought it used to be.
Yeah, definitely. And there's the better options out there. Like quite often at home, if we're having like an off-plan meal, we'll use the Pinch from None books or the board of lunch recipes, because it still feels like a treat, but you're making it, so you know exactly what's going in it, which is always nice.
And also little diet hacks, really. Like if you go to McDonald's, okay, you're going for McDonald's with the kids and they really want one, and maybe you've been caught short because you haven't prepped your meals all day and you need a little something. You can go and look at the menu, and I'm not going to say a salad. Like salads are so boring a lot of the time, you know, and people are like, oh yeah, here we go, salad. Nah, but you can go and have one of their wraps of the day. But if you make a simple switch, such as saying, instead of the breaded chicken, can I have grilled chicken instead? Takes the calories right down, the fat right down, bang, healthy, nutritious, feels like a bit of a treat because it's, you know, off plan. You're eating with your kids, sorted.
Yeah. And just linking back to the hunger and the hydration side of things as well, like going back to my photo shoot prep this year, I had to go 24 hours without food. And I've got to admit, I was really looking forward to our meal after, because we always go to a really gorgeous restaurant up that way where we have our shoot. But I wasn't even that hungry. I said to you, I'm actually surprised I'm not that hungry. So I think it is a mindset thing. If you tell yourself you're hungry, you're going to feel it, whereas just power through that. And I think a lot of people get confused between hunger and thirst as well, because we obviously set our clients like a hydration goal to work towards, because hydration is so important in physique development. But so many people come to us like drinking a litre of water a day. Like,
at best, yeah.
Yeah. How like that is going to explain why you feel shit a lot of the time, and also why you're feeling hungry, because it's probably your brain signaling that you're thirsty, not actually hungry.
Yeah, really good point. I mean, it's like now I haven't drank for 30 minutes and that water is calling me, you know, and at the end of this, I will smash that down, you know, straight away, because I know the benefits of hydration. And again, it's one of those things that the more in tune you get with your body, the more you realize, oh my God, I did have that dull headache all day. Now it's just normal. You know, oh yeah, I was low on energy. I was quite tired and fatigued all day. I did have that cloud in my mind, the brain fog. All of this is linked back to hydration, and hydration is linked to performance and everything, because your body's 70% water. So it's so important to be hydrated. And hydration doesn't just mean fluid; it also means your electrolytes as well. You know, and obviously in another episode, we'll talk about the benefits of things like electrolyte supplementation and other supplements that will assist.
Yeah, definitely. So does that lead us on nicely into the supplement side of things now?
Yeah, I think so. Let's go into that then, because we've spoken about energy and how a diet and adequate hydration will energize you. But we also know that there's certain supplements that are going to be your go-tos, really, that I would say that everyone in this population could benefit from taking. You know, from I used to coach females as well. I don't anymore, but I'll reel off the ones that I would normally put people on as their basics, as their fundamentals. And I know that you've got some that you add in for female specifics. So a multivitamin obviously is one that we both program. It's going to make up for any shortfall of micronutrients within your diet. Let's face it, most people aren't going to be eating enough variety of vegetables to get their full spectrum of micronutrients in. Multivitamin does the job there. We've got omegas, or high quality fish oil. So I either want a high quality omega-3 supplement or I want krill oil going in. The benefits of fish oil, great for heart health, joint health, overall health, just one of those fantastic supplements. And again, most people aren't going to be getting enough in terms of oily fish into their diet. I mean, I can't stand fish. There's no way I'm going to have any of it. So how am I going to get my dietary fats? Easy. I'm going to put it in, in the form of a capsule. And again, that's really important for things like cell regulation and rejuvenation. Your outer body of your cells is derived from dietary fats. If you're not getting enough dietary fats, then guess what? Your body's not going to be functioning optimally. On top of that as well, the big one, vitamin D3, but with K2. And that's the thing that people miss. And I'll let you go on to that a little bit, really.
Yeah, so most of us in the UK will be deficient in vitamin D because we don't get enough sunshine. So vitamin D supplement, that has vitamin D deficiency has a massive impact on energy levels. We have private blood tests every year, and last year, I think it was, mine was low, and I was low on energy at the time. So supplemented with it, I just upped my dose, and yeah, improvements happened.
I was the same. I supplemented one capsule a day every single day, and it came on the lower end of normal despite supplementation. So if you're not supplementing with it, you can be almost certain that you're going to be super low and outside the physiological range. So again, I double dosed, and it does help with energy levels.
Yeah. So the vitamin D, obviously needed, but with the K2 helps your body absorb even more of that vitamin D. So essentially you're getting more for your money as well with extra benefits.
Excellent. And then I guess the other one, in terms of performance, and also now with studies linked to improved cognitive function, brain health, is creatine. And it used to be creatine's a steroid, and you'd be like, it's really not. And, even in the police, from the powers that be above, creatine was demonized. It's really bad for your kidneys. It has no benefit. It's practically a steroid. It's something that you shouldn't be taking. And it's utter tripe. It is so beneficial for you. And you just need to look at the studies that are coming out. It used to be widely regarded as something that would help with performance, explosive power. Your body can only hold so much adenosine triphosphate, ATP stores. And that is quickly diminished through weight training. Your body can't produce any more. But then what happens is if you're supplementing with creatine, you've got that additional storage, bang. So you'll find that you can work out harder for longer. It's going to help with strength and performance. So we generally suggest 5 grams every single day, whether you're training, whether you're not. It doesn't matter when you take it. I personally like to take it in my intra-workout shake, but it wouldn't make a difference if I took it first thing in the morning. Just be consistent every single day. But then you've got these studies coming out that are saying if you megadose creatine, it actually helps stave off early onset dementia. It will help general clarity of thinking. So I now supplement with 10 grams a day. What about yourself? How much do you take?
I've just started taking 10 grams a day.
Okay.
And I think for women as well, the big thing I've had quite a few actually clients say, I want to try creatine, but I've heard it'll make me watery and puffy. Yes. So I don't know where that myth's come from, but I can assure you it absolutely does not.
Do you know what you say that? I had one brand years ago. I was taking Maximuscle creatine, and it made me watery and puffy. I can look back at someone's wedding photos that I attended, and honestly, I looked like a water buffalo. It's the only creatine that I've ever seen there was visual change. I don't know what was in it. It must have been something else because creatine doesn't do that. What it will do is it will help hold intramuscular fluid, So the water is contained within the muscles, which give the muscles more pop, more volume, but it doesn't make you look watery or anything like that. But that brand, honestly, I have no idea what was in it. My face was beetroot red as well. I can only think it pushed up my blood pressure. There was something going on. But apart from that, no, any other brand is fine.
That is bizarre. I've never personally noticed that myself, but I take it. It has not made me watery or puffy. Yeah. And again, it is one of the most researched fitness supplements out there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we both highly recommend taking
Definitely.
that.
And then in relation to another supplement that females can take that you think is really important, you were going to say about that?
Yes, so I always recommend my females to take a iron, B12 and folic acid supplement just to support cycle. Obviously, as females, we have to go through the menstrual cycle. So it just helps with energy and support in terms of hormonal balance.
Okay, well, I think that's a bit of a golden nugget that people can take away from this. Like, if you're not taking any supplements right now, implement those ones and you will see a big difference. And one of the other ones that I really like to add in as well, particularly for males, is ZMA, zinc, magnesium, vitamin B. Zinc is good for natural testosterone production, but it's more so the magnesium element of it that is so beneficial. And again, that's linked to general overall health, energy, well-being, all of these things, and promoting really good quality sleep.
Yeah.
And I know that people who take ZMA, they tell me, wow, my dreams have become so much more vivid, and they're getting that deep sleep. And again, the deep sleep is where you're building your muscle, and sleep is almost that foundation of everything else that we do, alongside hydration and adequate nutrition. But if your sleep is under 8 hours, and I'll diversify a little bit, because there's that recent control study, and we've cited this to multiple clients, whereby you had two control groups, A and B. A got 5 hours sleep a night. B got 8 hours sleep a night. Control group B lost 55% more body fat, and that's not just weight, it's body fat, than control group A, with every other variable the same. So that tells you the importance of sleep.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that we both focus on. I mean, I use my client Louise as an example. She came to me, she was surviving somehow off 3 to 4 hours sleep a night. And it took time, and I put a sleep protocol into place. And by the time she stopped working with me, she was sleeping 6 to 7 hours, and she just felt like a different woman. And the results started to come more. Whereas the first bit, where the sleep was shit, the results didn't come as quick. And it's because that sleep, it needed repairing, because 3 to 4 hours sleep, it was making things so much more difficult.
We see that all the time with clients. Like, when their sleep is so poor, it feels like a battle. And it's not just it slows down fat loss. It's literally trashing your hormones. Your body doesn't have that chance to reach homeostasis overnight. And you are just battering your body. And with that, what's happening is the hormone that's rising at a rapid rate is cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And that is the destroyer of gains. So, people need to understand you need a decent amount of sleep. And I know that's not always easy being a parent, but that's where you come in and establish that good bedtime routine for your child to begin with. And that really helps. So I think another topic that we were going to discuss, and it's going back to training a little bit, was how you can fit in training around being a busy parent. Because let's face it, time is at a premium a little bit. And I do understand that, not everyone has the availability to train 5 times a week, particularly during the day or anything like that. So what's the general advice that you give to your mums? What do you tend to see as some good training splits? How often should they be training?
So I say ideally you want to be training at least 3 times a week, but that's not even half of your week when you split it up. I personally currently train 3 times a week, but with Liv just going to school, my routine changes a little bit next week. So I'll be able to train 4 times a week, which makes me more happy. But you don't need to be training 6, 7 times a week, because you're actually going to be hindering. You're not going to be resting and recovering properly. So you're not going to actually... oh my God, my
brain
brain.
fart.
Literally. For example, I had a client, Carol. She came to me. She was training 6, 7 times a week, and her output on top of her weight training was just insane. Stripped back her training. We got it down to 5 times a week. Stripped back her cardio, and she was in good shape when she came to me. But she was like, my physique doesn't reflect that I train as hard as I do in the gym. We stripped it all down. Within probably 1 to 2 months, the muscles were popping. She couldn't believe it, that she'd just been overtraining and that she hadn't been letting her muscles recover, and that was what was letting her down. So you don't need to be in the gym 6, 7 times a week. 3 to 4 times a week is absolutely perfect.
I think what a lot of people have that mentality is more is better. And I would rather work with someone who has that mentality than those people that you're like, come on, get 1 session in this week.
Yeah.
But when you get someone like that, it's actually channeling their energy in the right way. And I think one of the big things is ramping up the intensity within a single session to get the absolute most you can out of that 1 session, as opposed to half-assing 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions. 8, not in a week, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and her intensity was good, but she was just overtraining and her body was just battered, that she couldn't recover from it. But yeah, sorry, just gone a bit off track there. So yeah, 3 to 4 times a week, I would say. And I mean, it's just working in a partnership. If you have got a partner, then it's just taking it in turns. You both deserve your own time. And I mean, for us, I say lucky enough, we work hard. We train during our work day, but we work in the evenings to make up for that.
Exactly that.
But like on a weekend, we split. So on a Sunday morning, one of us will go to the gym first and the other will have some quality time with Liv. And then we switch. When the other one's back, the other one of us will go to the gym. And it's just about working in partnership and getting it to fit. It shouldn't be that, oh, the husband can go train 4 or 5 times a week and the wife has to miss out. It should not be that way. But that's down to you as a couple to sort out between yourselves.
Absolutely. It's a bit of give and take, you know, you can't have it both ways. And you do see it, I guess, more so with males, because even though as a society now, like the standards have changed, men will try and, not all men, some men will try and pull that card of, I'm the man, I'm the provider, I get to do what I want. And yet actually the wife still works a full-time job, you know, and then she's doing the household stuff all on top of it. And then they kind of get away scot-free. And it's like, well, I'm off to the gym, see you later. Well, where's the female, the wife's time? You know, it has to be that balance. And like you say, that's to negotiate within your own relationship. But at the same time, it is so, so important. You know, I actively encourage you going to the gym. It's so important, not just for you physically, but mentally as well. You need that opportunity just to have a break, you know, and that 1 hour where you go in the gym, like most people will dread the thought of going to the gym at certain points just because life's been really busy, they're stressed, they're tired, whatever it may be. And the thought of going to the gym, you're just like, I can't bother with that. I'd rather lay down or whatever. You get to the gym, you have a fucking good workout. And afterwards you feel on a high and you're like, oh, wow, I needed that. That was such a good session. And then it gets you hungry for more. So it's almost about getting into that routine. And then when it becomes something that you really like and enjoy, then you're going to keep going and you're probably going to want to go more. And that's when we say, actually strip it back. But you know, that happy balance, but the key is just go.
Yeah, you'll never regret going. And I had a client, I can't remember who it was this week, but was like, I really didn't feel like going. I had so much on, but I went. I had a really good session and I was so glad I went. And I don't think you'll get anyone who will go to the gym and come out saying, I wish I hadn't bothered.
I had exactly the same feedback, in fact, in one of today's check-ins. Again, it was Alex again. And you're saying on Sunday, I wasn't feeling it. It was a leg session. And the way I get guys to train is really intense. You know, we really ramp up progressive overload. And he was like, I just wasn't feeling it. But I went and it was the best session of the week. And that is where you need discipline over emotions. You cannot just do things when you feel like it. And that goes with diet. It goes with training. You must do the work regardless of how you feel. That is how you separate yourselves from average, but that is also how you set the standard for your child. You cannot say to your child, oh, you don't feel like doing that today. Like you don't feel like learning. You don't feel like studying. You don't have to. Like people, when it comes to health and fitness, they will let themselves be ruled by emotion a lot of the time. But you can't just say, I don't feel like going into work today. You can't say, I don't feel like being a parent today. You know, I don't feel like getting out of bed today. You may not feel like it, but you get it done anyway. And that, I think, is how you need to see your fitness goals, especially if you've set a goal. If you've set a goal, fucking act like it.
They're really good examples. And I think we saw that post. I think I shared it on my socials the other week about parents who are active. It does impact your child. You're more likely to have an active child if both parents are active. And again, it's just setting that example. So you're either going to set your child up for being active and healthy, or they're going to lead a sedentary lifestyle and end up with health implications themselves.
And you only need to look around now. And it sounds quite harsh to say, but if you see an obese child, you then look at the parents and you can straight away say, well, actually, they're following their parents' examples. The parents are not feeding themselves right. Their activity levels are low, and therefore they're passing that on to their child. Whereas if you've got two parents that are into fitness, you generally do not see their child being, you know, one of these statistics, you know, that are obese, that you know are going to run into health implications. And in a way, it is a form of child abuse in my view. If you were malnourishing a child to the point that they were stick thin with brittle bones, social services would be all over you. But it seems to be almost accepted now that, okay, you can overfeed your kid and, you know, they can look like a 12-year-old when they're 4, you know, and that's okay. And I don't believe it is, because what are you doing to that child? You know, how is that setting them up for life moving forwards? It's not conducive to them being around for a long time.
And the sad thing is, it is more of a common thing now. You see a lot more obese children and they look to be getting younger and younger. And another sad thing is, it's not the child's fault.
No,
it's their
not.
parents feeding them whatever they're feeding them, and that's all they know. They don't know any different.
No, and it is sad to see. But that's where I hope this podcast, in a way, kind of motivates and inspires others to say, you know what, I do want to be the leader of my family, you know, and that can be male or female. I'm not saying, oh, I'm a man, I must be the head of the household. No, it's a joint effort. But if you can both instill good ethics and values in your child from a young age, you know what, when they're like 14, 15, 16, you're going to have a hell of a lot less problems than if you let them run riot and, you know, feed them a shit diet from a young age and, you know, they're just feral.
Yeah. And then just linking back to the topic we were talking about. So a big tip that I give to mums who work with me, time, is I do it myself. Every Friday evening, I sit down with the diary. I put in my commitments, whatever you're doing, just to make sure it doesn't clash with mine, our family commitments. And then I plan in everything else around that. Generally now, my gym sessions are as and when, so I don't have to move them around. But for example, if I have a hospital appointment, which I've got quite a few of at the moment, crop up, it can sometimes impact my training. So I have to see where else I can fit it in. And it's just a case of sitting down at the end of the week, planning your week ahead, seeing where the time is free. All you need to commit is an hour. Put that in your diary and treat your training session as an appointment, like you would a Botox appointment, a hair appointment, a doctor's appointment. You're not going to miss that unless an emergency comes up. So start treating your training appointments like that. And I guarantee 99% of the time you will make those appointments and your training will naturally become a part of your routine.
Yeah, and that's a really good tip. I do overhear you, you know, telling your women that on your check-ins now. I always think, yeah, that's really good. I mean, I guess one thing as well is in terms of how long should you be training in a gym? Because again, you know, sometimes the more is better type attitude is where people are falling short. So, you know, they can't commit to the gym because they're thinking they need to spend 2 hours in the gym for a workout. But I could argue you could spend 30 to 45 minutes in a weights area and have a bloody effective workout, one that is conducive to muscle growth, one that's going to aid fat loss, and obviously give you that mental uplift as well as a result of it. And as we know, obviously diet dictates a lot of about whether we're going to go into a fat loss phase, gaining phase, but 30 to 45 minutes a session is all you really need to commit to. Anything over that is a bonus. Up until I would say after about an hour and 15 minutes, then likely you're going to see a massive tail off in performance, and the volume that you are doing is going to be junk volume.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Generally, my training sessions that I set my ladies are 45 minutes to an hour, but could easily reduce down. And again, that's dependent on the person and what time they do have available, and it can be adjusted. And
that's where there's the benefit to working with a coach, because someone like ourselves, you tell us, this is what I can commit to. I can commit to 4 times a week at 45 minutes. We build you that bespoke plan. We know that there are so many coaches out there who will give you a copy and pasted template. This is the one size fits all program. Crack on with it. You know, here's the diet that's closest to your calories. There you go, crack on with it. And that's why, again, a lot of people fail on these journeys because they haven't got something sustainable from the off. Whereas if you come to coaches such as ourselves, and there's plenty of other good coaches out there, but if you then are given a plan that is bespoke to you, you look at it and you go, I enjoy that. I like that. Look at the foods that are on that. You know, what, I've got bagels, I've got squares bars, I've got cereal in there. You know, I've got really tasty food. I've got some cookbooks that I can refer to that have got their macros planned out. I can do this. And then I look at that gym session and I'm like, okay, that's not going to take me too long. I'm excited to get in the gym and do this. You know, you start off someone feeling like that, then before, 3-4 weeks, it starts to become a habit. It starts to become a routine. And then everything just becomes so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it's about, getting it to fit in with their lifestyle. We always say our programs are bespoke to the individual, and that is so important. I mean, you've worked with more coaches than me, but I'll never forget the one you had. Like, you're so picky with food, but it was definitely a generic copy and paste shite because it had foods on there that you don't even like bananas.
Bananas and pineapple I don't like either. And I specify it with any coach I work with. I don't like pineapple. I don't like bananas because I know that most generic plans will have those foods in. And sure enough, that's what I got handed. And I was like, okay, I know what's happening here.
Whereas like our clients, if you work with us, you get given a questionnaire and there's a whole list of foods listed on there. You tick the foods you like. So you will only have foods that you like in your program, unless you accidentally tick one and then we put it in because you've ticked it.
How many times has that happened, by the way?
But yeah, it is built around you, because if it's not, you're just setting up to fail from the off.
Yeah. So the key, I think, with any fitness journey, whether you are a parent or not, is you need a program that is sustainable and realistic for you. You know, if you can only commit to 3 hours in a week in the gym, if you're working with someone, say it. They will then build the plan that's for you. They won't make you go 5 times a week. They might encourage you to get another session in if you can. And further down the line, you may want to, in which case someone like ourselves adds in another session.
Yeah.
But be realistic about what you can commit to. But then go all in and commit to it. You know, you could easily look at your diary and see where your availability is. And whether you've got kids or not, I think most people can find 3 hours a week to get in the gym.
Yeah. And just going back to the screen time, if you think you haven't, go on your screen time settings and see how much time a week you're spending on your screen. And I assure you, you'll be surprised.
Yeah, exactly that. And there are things like 24-hour gyms now as well.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse not to get in there, even when the kids are bedded. Yeah, okay, you may be tired from the day, but this is where you can structure your nutrition so that actually you've got an uptake in energy without impacting sleep, and actually fuel yourself for a good session, have a little bit of post-workout food and still be ready to hit bed at a normal hour.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean being fueled by caffeine.
No.
Okay, so I don't think we've got much else to discuss. However, we did say about potential training splits, because a lot of people are like, well, what's the best training split for me? And I would argue there isn't one. You know, it is, again, individual. If you can commit to 3 times a week, is there any particular body parts you're looking to prioritize? If there is, then we might be able to do a more structured session, which, you know, one of those sessions may be upper, lower, and then the specialized session. But you could do upper, lower, upper 1 week, then go into lower, upper, lower the next week. You could do full body 1, full body 2, full body 3. You could do push, pull, legs. You could do like a bro split, like chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs and delts, any of these sorts of things. Again, the best training split for you, the one you can damn well enjoy.
Yeah.
Same for your women?
Yeah, completely agree. There isn't a set thing. It's bespoke to the individual, what they want to bring up. Obviously, we give our input, especially photo shoot prep clients. We'll assess their physique and give our input on what we think they should bring up. But again, it's a communication between the two of you, because at the end of the day, it's their physique. So we'll do what it takes to get them the physique that they want.
Perfect. And then I think before we sign off, I want to give people some real good advice that will see them on their way. And I want to talk protein, because so many people will say, I cannot eat enough protein in a day. And we all know that protein is literally the building blocks of building muscle. You know, it's full of amino acids, which is what is needed to repair and grow new muscle tissue. So when it comes to programming, we like to program, and I know I speak for you on this as well, anywhere between about 0.8 to 1.4 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight in that region. Yeah. It can go higher in certain circumstances. It probably won't go much lower than that. People are like, okay, but how do I get enough protein in my diet? So what are your go-to protein sources?
Definitely a protein shake. It's just nice and quick and easy to get down.
I don't like them.
There's so many different options out there. I'm so picky when it comes to texture. Like I used to hate protein shakes, and I've trialed many. Mm-hmm. Chemical Warfare, definitely one of the best out there in terms of smoothness, texture and taste, even mixed with water. Because I used to find certain proteins mixed with water just taste like dirty dishwater, and it would literally make me gag. Yep. But Chemical Warfare one's amazing. The Perform ones are amazing. I'm currently... Well, I've got a dairy intolerance, so I have to be careful now. So I'm just trialing a new one, which is a clear, but it does actually have whey. So I've only started it yesterday, so I'm going to see how that goes. Mm-hmm. But if you're vegan, then there's vegan ones. There's Applied Nutrition is a really nice one for that.
And that's a vegan clear whey.
That's a vegan clear whey. And that just tastes like a fruit juice, but still easy to get down because, like I say, I am super picky. Mm-hmm. But I think if you don't like protein shakes, just one shake a day, it's just kind of suck it up and get it down.
It's a really easy, convenient way.
It is.
We do build diets whereby there are no protein shakes, it's fair to say. If people really don't like them. But a lot of the time I think it's ingrained in their mind. They've had a bad experience with it and therefore they don't like it. But not all protein shakes are equal.
Yes, agreed with that. Other things is obviously meat is one of the main sources. But again, if someone doesn't want to have a protein shake, then meat is the next step. And then you'll get people say, oh, that's too much meat. So you need your protein intake. It's so important. So you're going to have to give way one way or the other. Either just have a shake or you're going to have extra meat. But again, if you're vegan, it's a little bit harder, and it is always harder to hit the protein intake with that. But it's a case of doing it through things like beans, pulses, lentils, all that sort of stuff.
The only issue with those is they're not a complete protein source.
Yeah.
And even things like pork. Pork isn't a complete protein source. So if you're looking at your meats, you want a meat that's going to have a full spectrum of aminos, or certainly across your day, which is why it's good to have a varied intake of different protein sources. I mean, I think eggs is a really good one, particularly egg whites.
Yes.
You know, and to separate them as a ball, like you can get liquid egg whites, which is what we used to do for our breakfast. You know, crack in one egg so that you've got the flavour of the yolk in there as well. And then you could do, say, 150 to 250 mil of liquid egg whites. Loads of protein in that. You've got Greek yogurt. We typically use fat-free if fats are going lower. Yeah. And then you've got, like we said, the meats, you know, even fishes, tunas, salmon, very high in fats. So you have to be careful about that, but good for females because we know that we need to diet females on higher fat compared to males. Yeah. And then you have other options where we are. Greek yogurt is the big one. And then, your meats. That's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah. The liquid egg whites, just going back to that, are so good as well because so low calorie and they actually fill you up. But I think from experience, we've both had people say, oh, I just can't do plain liquid egg whites. But we've both done plain liquid egg whites. And again, I think that is in the mind as well.
Oh, definitely.
Like, it just doesn't taste of anything. But if you add a bit of salt and pepper, a bit of light sauce.
For me, the big one was reduced sugar, salt, ketchup and American mustard on it. It gives it loads of flavour. And it's fairly bland. But I think, again, society, everything must taste amazing. No, sometimes food is fuel. Again, particularly on a fat loss journey, if you piss about trying to make everything amazing and Gucci, do you know what? You're just making it so much harder on yourself. You know, and adding a little bit here, a little bit there of whatever it may be, like these little tasty treats, it's just making it harder and you're going to increase your cravings. You know, we do talk about other protein sources and foods that are labelled protein on it. Half the time they're rubbish, you know, and we look at protein Weetabix. I think it's like 11 grams of protein compared to 7 grams of the normal one or something. Your protein bars, okay, it may have 20 grams of protein, but what sort of protein is it? Look on the back, filled with like emulsifiers and preservatives and so many ingredients. All protein is not equal. Yeah. You know, try and make it as simplistic as possible. Yes, okay, there's all these tasty protein treats, but it's everything else in there that is full of shit. And actually, micronutrient-wise, it's just not the best for you. And again, protein bar, you're looking at, you know, this much volume of food, 230 calories or something. Whereas actually, if you had that much chicken with salad or rice or whatever, you'd end up with a whole fucking plate of food. Making diet easy. You know, you've got to think smart.
Yeah, and just going on to those protein puddings, I think they're quite popular because they taste nice.
Yes.
But I think we've both found we've had clients who have actually had quite impacted digestion off the back massively. Of them because of all the additives and shit that is packed in them. Yeah,
and I would certainly say limit them. You know, I do program like the Lindel's protein yogurts for a lot of people. I prefer those over the protein puddings. Yeah. But again, limit those heavily processed protein options to one a day or something. And, you know, protein wraps, protein bagels, just fucking ignore them. They're ramping up the calories just because they've got a load of seeds in them. It's not proper protein. All protein is not equal. So hopefully you guys have taken a few nuggets of information from us on this episode. Moving forwards, we'd love listener engagement. So if you want us to discuss a particular topic, if you've got ideas for us, if you've got feedback for us, you think this is a good episode, you think it's absolutely shit, let us know and we can make some changes next time around. But I think the feedback from you guys is super important.
Agreed, Jan. It'll be really insightful, like especially if you are a parent, what sort of things do you want us to cover? What do you want to know? Because we're happy to help where we can.
So that will bring episode 1 of the Fit Parents podcast to a close. All we'd like you to do now is drop a comment, let us know your thoughts, and subscribe so that you're ready for episode 2.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Take care.